Hand Croeso, welcome to the EAS webinar for Blended Learning Resources for Expressive Arts. Can I ask all attendees to put their name, school and consortia in the chat so we know who has attended today. Today we'll be sharing EAS resources from our LNS schools, which we hope will support you further in your schools during the current crisis, and also exemplify and share best practice with you from across the region. So we've developed a Google site for blended learning resources. The resources are broken down into the different AOLEs. The site has come about as we've had requests from teaching resources, both from teachers and leaders, that teachers could literally pick up and run with because of the pressures currently on them. We've only included newly developed resources, and our LNS schools will continue to be providing us with additional resources as well as what the advisors within the EAS can produce. So we're hoping to constantly be updating and adding resources to the websites in a hope to further support you in your classrooms. As part of the site, we've also included current blended learning guidance, as well as documentation that would help with you locating resources and downloading them so you can access them and run with them straight away. Behind each AOLE tile, the resource is separated into primary and secondary. Now this is just for ease of navigation, but obviously we have, and you will be able to adapt those resources to fit whichever phase you need. As part of our thinking when designing these resources, we have considered the different ways you need to plan in the current crisis, which is in line with the guidance. All of these resources have been delivered, can either be delivered in person in a classroom, or can be paper-based or digital resources, or delivered virtually if lessons are absent from school. And we've identified the different digital tools that could be used in this situation to enable presentations and collaboration. And if you would like any support with the different digital platforms and tools, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We've got a group of people that would be more than happy to provide bespoke digital support, particularly with the pressures on distance and blended learning moving forward. So today we're very fortunate to have 5 LNS schools for Expressive Arts with us who will be sharing their resources and how they went about producing them and their learning experience to produce these blended resources. The Curriculum for Wales proposes a broad definition of curriculum that includes everything a learner experiences in pursuit of the realisation of the 4 purposes. The curriculum encourages schools and practitioners to reflect on the what, how, and most importantly, the why of their curriculum. In developing these blended resources, both advisors and LNS schools have considered in depth the purpose, principles, vision and ethos of the 2022 Curriculum for Wales. The consideration of the curriculum has included the wider questions and considerations linked to the vision of the curriculum, including the cross-cutting elements, progression, assessment and pedagogy. These resources support the development of cross-curricular and integral skills. As stated previously, they are resources linked to each AOLE, and each resource supports the development of the key knowledge, understanding and skill as framed in the statement of what matters, and are based on the understanding of progression, as explained in the principle of progression and associated descriptions of learning. So the Expressive Arts AOLE now composes of 5 subject areas in the new curriculum. The 5 subjects have discrete bodies of knowledge and skills, but it is the creative process that unites these disciplines. The new disciplines include film, digital media and dance. The LNS schools have referred to and used the statement of what matters that reflect the creative process as they have developed these resources. The statements of what matters in the curriculum focus on exploring, responding and creating, and as you can see here we've included that definition just for reference before the guys start sharing with you their exciting resources. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Amy Evans, the head of art at King Henry. Thank you, Amy.
No problem. Hi, hello. So I just want to kind of briefly explain how this resources come about. As an AOLE, we kind of got together and wanted to be quite proactive in how we kind of approach this new curriculum, really. So we sat down together as an AOLE and decided what kind of skills we really wanted to get our pupils to be looking at. So we wanted to make sure we still kept our art skills, but how we can kind of develop it with the work that we're doing across our PLCs. and obviously we've had a big drive on numeracy, but I wanted it to be like an authentic kind of approach to how we introduce numeracy, and looking at maths really in an art kind of context. So this is what we've come up with. So art, music and drama, our theme across the AOLE is black and white for our first topic. And then we are looking at it through the medium of op art. So on Hub, I've created a playlist about op art, and basically it should be that you could pick this up and run with it straight away. So the first kind of introduction slide kind of just explains how it fits into the new curriculum, really. How we are intending to kind of build on the body of knowledge, and how it kind of connects the numeracy skills and how they apply it to different kind of contexts, and making them have kind of transferable skills. So at the bottom of this first slide on the playlist, we've got a scheme of work kind of just mapped out on a simple 2-page document, outlining how we think it fits with the 4 purposes and the what matter statements. So one of the first things people get asked to do is watch a series of videos from YouTube, where they then kind of brainstorm and explore what they've understand from op art. So they're being asked to kind of revisit this brainstorm as they build in more and more knowledge over the few lessons. So this is just an example of a pupil's book. The little sticker that we have here, we do something as an initiative in our school, close the gap. So if a pupil hasn't written enough kind of information, we ask them another question to kind of expand on their knowledge. So from that initial kind of brainstorm, the next thing that they get asked to do was then to kind of express their own opinions and explain what they've learned about op art. So on the next slide then there are some sentence starters that they might want to use, just encouraging them to be writing about art and using the kind of visual language of art. Then also on the playlist there are a series of YouTube videos and video demonstrations and instructions on how to create a range of different op art images. And then the main task is this, where we are making a 3D kind of sculpture from a net. So on the playlist there are a series of different nets from a basic cube, and then they get more kind of complex, so you can differentiate this task quite nicely. So attached then is a Word document with just lots of different templates that you can just print out or get them to draw themselves. There are video instructions on how to make a net as well. And then there are a few more slides on worksheets on how to create simple op art images as well. But at the end of the playlist, then there are lots of attachments, PowerPoints on how to create different op art, and then how we can kind of push this idea a little bit further into black and white, and looking at this idea of paper cutouts. They're called notans. So just a Japanese concept of playing around with light and dark. So they explore different shapes with black and white paper. So that's a quite nice link to looking at different kind of cultures, really. After that, there is a PowerPoint on paper weaving. So these kind of things could be blended learning tasks, really, that pupils could have access to this kind of stuff at home. And then one of the other things that we are trying to develop as a school is our oracy skills. So we use in the app chatter picks, and the pupils then have got to pretend to be a famous artist like Bridget Riley or something, and they've got to then come up with recalling what they've learned over the last few weeks, really. So again, then that could be something that would easily work at home, really, as a digital kind of task. So we are trying to get as many different media in as possible and make it, you know, a wide variety. So, and I think that should be the end of my stuff. So I'm hoping that I'd like to see if anybody uses it, post some stuff on Twitter, and I think we are at KHS Art Department. Be nice to see where you produce in your school. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Amy, really appreciated. Is there any questions in the chat, Dave or Paula?
No questions at the moment. Thank you very much.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Thanks again, Amy. Now we're going to go to Rachel Jenkins from Abersucken School, who's going to talk through her drama Key Stage 3 resource icons. Over to you, Rachel. Thank you.
Okay, so my department, my faculty, we basically got together last year and sort of where are we with the new curriculum? So we got together and we sort of looked at what skills they need for drama and music and what skills they need in art. And then we sort of decided, you know, there was no pointing an art teacher trying to be a drama teacher or a drama teacher trying to be an artist, even though I did try that once or twice. So basically we had a discussion on the skills. And we had, in year 7, the art department felt quite strongly that colour was something they liked to spend quite a lot of time on. Now in drama, we use colour for lighting, to talk about different emotions. And then we sort of came up with our theme, which we discussed, which would be emotion. Now this is our first year now experimenting with this theme. It's going quite well, even with COVID. We're still managing to sort of dip into the new curriculum. So we came up with the theme of emotion. Now in drama, we're looking at emotions. We're looking at actual physical theatre. We're using a topic where we look at a girl who finds out that her brother's been racist. So we're also looking at the importance of not being racist and treating people equally. So then we thought in drama, we could do still images with them and take a photo of them on their portrait from the front and from the side, because then what they'll do is they'll take that into the art department, then they'll take their photo and then they're gonna, in the style of Picasso, they're going to actually then create their own portraits using those images. Now with the media, we do have Key Stage 4 media at my school, so we did want to sort of dip into media as well. So we were looking at speaking to them about the preferred response of what the creator wants, but then the oppositional response. Now in drama, that's very easy for us to go into that, because you're constantly asking your pupils, what did you want the audience to take from that? But then you actually ask the audience what they did take from it, and then you can refer that to media and say, well, this actually happens in the same with media. So with the dance, we've got physical theatre, using our bodies in order to create the bed, the wardrobe, the door. So again, it tied in really nice into the drama lessons. And then music, the music teacher was really excited about actually looking about animal motifs and the eye of the tiger and how emotion can be created in music. So we've enjoyed doing the topics so far. We're not finished, so obviously there is going to be areas that we might need to change, but it's quite nice that we're actually linking the subjects together. So we're doing them in our lessons and then we're sort of bringing it all together. So but we've been very lucky this term as well, because we've actually got an NQT and who knows so much about the new curriculum as well. So she actually came up with the idea of The Greatest Showman. And at first, you can imagine all of us who've been teaching 10, 12 years, we're thinking, well, how is the Greatest Showman going to actually link into the new curriculum? So we sat down, and again, we came together as a faculty, we discussed these ideas, and I'll get the next slide up. We've sort of got a map of where we think we're going to go with this one in January or February. We're going to be looking at drama, and we're going to look at the equality and what it means to be a good citizen, because we also want to make sure with the 4 purposes that we're actually covering, making sure that they're healthy, they're informed citizens, and they're aware of the world. So we're looking at the Great Showman. This resource would actually be the introduction to that. And we're going to look at what it means to be a good citizen. We're going to start that off as a basic, because we throw that word around and I'm not convinced all of our pupils would know what a good citizen actually is. Then in music, that's where the NQT actually, her area. She then said they would like to sing songs from the film and create their own music. And she said, like, doing that with the pupils would get them really engaged. The art department, we're still discussing it, but we're looking at them actually making masks. So they're going to look at like circus masks, because that connects to the Greatest Showman. Then the media, this one ties in really nice with the media, looking at how people are portrayed and how this can have an impact on our thinking, looking about how the circus performers in the film are actually seen as not accepted by society. And we're going to look at maybe social media and how airbrushing and, so I think this one's going to really grip our learners. And then dance. If COVID allows it, we've got an idea of getting a circus performer in as well to really take our learners out of their comfort zone. So the resource I'm going to show you today, I'm going to share with you, is one that I've put together for drama. And it's just a sort of starting to get them to think about people around us in the world, what they've done, and how that makes them a good citizen. So I'll be very brief with going over the resource, because you'll be able to access it. There is a lesson plan connected to it as well, and all of this also in a different document, so you can see where we're going. So when the learners come in, there's a great video clip here. The YouTube link is there. It's just going to go over what is a good citizen. Now, if you've got pupils in school, you can obviously play that as they're entering, because then they'll be engaged straight away. If they're at home, you can still play that via Google Classroom or another platform, and then you can just maybe in Teams have that discussion with the pupils. What is a good citizen? And if they don't know, the video will give them that answer. Then we're going to go into, that actually plays it. Okay, so we'll skip that one. So I don't want to play that, so we'll be here all day. Then we're going to go into our nods, our learning objectives. And again, we've got our what matters statements. So explore makes a good citizen. So they're going to do a bit of research. They're going to look into it. Responding, so we're going to respond to each other. That can be done even with blended learning. That could be done on Teams or even Google Classroom. And again, we're going to create a performance using some of explorative strategies. Now you might say, well, and this is something that I've spoke to my department, how are you going to actually do a performance if they're not in school due to COVID? There is a plan, which you'll see in this PowerPoint. So straight away, you ask the pupils, can they think of any good citizens? There's a link there to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And when I've done this with one of my other classes, trialing this, it moved the pupils. And you speak about how Dr. Martin Luther King was non-violent. He didn't judge people. He wanted us to be united and be together. And then that should inspire them to think what is a good icon. So again, they would come up with these answers, but they're there for you just in case they don't. Then the next slide. If you're in school, great, you've got them there. They know what they've got. They're going to create a performance showing what makes a good citizen, and they know where they sort of need to pitch themselves. Every pupil should be going for the extra hot. There's no taking on a little bit, get stuck in, everyone get involved in it. Again, even if they're at home, they can still use that as a success criteria to know where they've got to aim. Then basically, if you're in school, you'll put them into groups and you'll give them an icon. And again, I think the history teacher was very happy I included some of these icons into the lesson. They'll be able to go into more details, and the idea is that they actually research the icon that you give them. Now, there is a booklet that I made that I give them for differentiation, but if they're at home, you could even stop the lesson there and just say to them, right, you now need to go research one of these chosen icons, and then ask them to create a PowerPoint and upload that then to your Google Classroom. So that could be the one lesson from blended learning. But if you're in school and you haven't got much time with the pupils, if you only see them once a fortnight, you can actually give them a booklet on these icons. Then I basically give them an example. They've got some there. I'll go through these quite quickly. We look at Gandhi. We've got your Welsh one there, Tanni Grey Thompson. Picasso, so we're linking to art again, and we speak about how Picasso with Hitler, he didn't stand back. He actually still expressed himself through art. So even though I'm not an art teacher, I have actually sort of got a bit of an idea from a bit of research myself onto that, just to bring it into my lessons as well. Then we go into Billie Holiday, so we've got our music there. We've got our singer. We talk about how she basically, with the racism again, talking about how everyone should be treated equally. My favourite, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talk about him being non-violent. Quite like including Dr. Martin Luther King, because you've already showed the video clip at the beginning, for differentiation, for any of your learners who maybe perhaps might struggle with the research, give them Dr. Martin Luther King, because naturally they've watched the video already, so they've already going to have a bit of an insight into who Dr. Martin Luther King is. Then go over just to make sure, regarding the main activity regarding that, they would create a performance showing why their icon is good. They'll all have different people, so then they're sharing it amongst the group. Now, if you're at home, or if they're at home for blended learning, you could do that like just a simple news report. And that could just be one person, news just in, Dr. Martin Luther King has got non-violent way and to stop segregation. And, I've set some blended learning this week for a pupil, and I've actually got the family to take part in their drama activity with them. I know that's not always possible for every pupil. So naturally, just say, you can do it as a news report on your own. You don't need to worry if there's no one at home with you to be able to do this. And then at the end of that, we'll just do an overview, what makes a good citizen from what you've seen today. Then the following lesson, I've listed the icons there more for your reference, because there's a few others there that I didn't include. Pink does an amazing inspirational speech about how her daughter, her message to her daughter about how people used to say she was ugly, she didn't fit in, a bit like The Greatest Showman, and that's how you can then link it of, people never said she was attractive, and she told her daughter, we're all beautiful, it doesn't matter what we look like. So the following lesson then, I'd show Pink's message. Again, you can do that on blended learning and show how she used her fame to inspire others. And then you'll go linking into The Greatest Showman then, looking about seeing all beauty and how all these circus performers, they shouldn't have been judged by the way they looked. So I've provided that resource for you. If you fancy going down this road, The Greatest Showman, that you can use, even if you don't want to go down The Greatest Showman road, at least you can still use this resource to look at icons, because it is important that they inform citizens with the new curriculum, making sure that they are aware of what makes people good and what helps them. Then you could even do another performance with the following lesson. You ask them how could they be a good citizen in our society, and then make them do a performance showing something bad happening and then standing up for what was right. So there's loads of different roads you can go down with this resource. I'm more than happy for anybody to contact me. We're going to be starting this one in January. We'll reflect on the first unit, and then we'll start this one in January. Again, if anyone wants to give me a message, I can provide you a support booklet with all the icons in as well. That's absolutely brilliant. So thank you for listening to me, and feel free to give me a message anytime about anything that I've said about today. Okay.
Yeah, we do have one. Someone has asked, how do you manage doing singing, etc., with social distancing and current COVID restrictions, please?
Yeah, regarding the singing, yeah, I totally agree. The music teacher at the moment hasn't been able to do much singing this actual term because of COVID. However, I think there is some guidance that as long as you are in groups of 15, I mean, check with your schools, but I think as long as you're in groups of 15, I think the guidance is you can actually still do singing. Regarding how we've managed that, we've got groups of 10 and we're sort of doing lunch times after schools. So you are right, if in January social distancing is still there, we might have to look into doing the music instead, maybe creating the music around The Greatest Showman with beats. I mean, drama, another good question. I'm actually currently taking mine outside. I do feel like a PE teacher at the moment with a big hat and a big coat. You know, so I hope that social distancing will eventually stop, but you know, who knows what the future holds on that. That's something that's constantly changing.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much, Rachel. Right.
Yeah, regarding that, sorry.
Go on.
I thought something else then. If the person who asked that question, if they give me an email, the music teacher did find a really, really good website resource, which is all about sort of, she actually got it from another LNS school. So if they give me an email, I can always email them that as well, just as something that you can do in lessons as well.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, over to our next presenter, Angela Morgan from Church in Wales Primary School. Thank you, Angela.
Hi everyone, thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did during lockdown and how our resources worked online for us. Just trying to skip forward a slide. There we are. So my contact details are here on this first slide. If you want to ask any questions, please contact me on my hub address. So during our lockdown, we put our planning onto the school website. This is an example of Year 5-6 planning. It covers all the 6 AOLEs on one page, and you can see that they are colour coded for the chili challenges from mild to hot. So the children were able to access at the level that they were capable of accessing it at. For Expressive Arts, I also ran alongside an Expressive Arts Google Classroom, and the information was posted on Class Dojo with links, so we communicated with parents through Class Dojo, and we used Google Classroom for posting any resources and for them to get back to us. They could post back work to us on Class Dojo or through Google Classroom. So we'd already planned our unit of work around the Olympics, and unknown to us, it didn't happen, it wasn't going to happen. But we decided to carry on with it anyway, because we knew that there would still be the opportunity for the athletes to continue with their sport and for pupils to find out more about the Olympics and our British athletes. So this resource, which you will find on the website, just outlines how they can design their own kit for the Olympic team. So that I've included examples of kind of cutout dolls, those old-fashioned cutout dolls where they can draw and design on them and cut them out and stick them on like a little paper mannequin. There are also images of our team in the kit from 2012 and from Rio as well. So you'll find that on the website. This is an example of our sport logo art. I've gone forward a slide, so I'll go back a bit. So the sport logo art, this was based around the work of Andy Warhol. I taught a lesson live, which I have included in my resources for you to look at. I'm not the best presenter, I can promise you, but it talks the children through the process and understanding what pop art is. There's a pop art PowerPoint going through some images that Andy Warhol has made, and then how to produce your own pop art using a sports logo. So using a logo like Under Armour or the Nike swoosh, the children then created their own at home, photographed it and sent it in to us. And here's some lovely examples of children that have created kits and also the pop art logos. Very simply done, but very effective. This term, our topic is based around colour. So we've been doing some using muck, mess and mixtures as our theme. So we've been mixing colours, and you can see the children have recorded it in many different ways across the whole of the Key Stage 2, going from Year 3 up to Year 6. And To go alongside that, we've had a blended learning resource online where they can create a colour wheel at home. And that activity is to go on a colour wheel scavenger hunt. And I made a little I can animation for them to watch. So they go around the house with their family, collecting all the items they can find and make a colour wheel. Let's hope it runs. There we go. There we go. And here is some of the work that the children turned in. And the one I like best is the one in the top right corner. You can see the little girl Morgan, she's actually in the picture herself because she had orangey red hair and she wanted to be in her colour wheel. Moving forward, we did a survey. We surveyed parents and pupils after returning to school to ask them how they found online learning and the approaches that we gave them and the different platforms that we had available to them. And having assimilated all the information, we discovered that really we were giving them too much information, too much choice, too many platforms. So we've slimmed things really down now for any future lockdown events or even for people that are isolating. We will have one piece of work per week for them to look at, which is this one planning document. It has literacy and numeracy every day with a straightforward task with links on the planning board. And then a you choose section, which is the other AOLEs, which they can choose throughout the week. They can choose one activity every afternoon. And we just felt that this was so much more manageable, and the parents really wanted us to be more direct about how we what we gave them to do. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much, Angela. Have we got any questions in the chat, Dave or Paula?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Angela. Right, our next speaker then is Sarah Burbage from Shire Newton Primary School. So over to you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi there, I'm Sarah Burbage. Now, I chose the film and digital media discipline of expressive arts to focus on. I think it's probably the one that people have less confidence over, so I thought I'd choose something from that. Now, I went for animation. Now, I know animation has been around for a long time, but I know that even there's still some staff in our school who still shy away from it. So I thought if I created a resource then that people would just pick up and use, then hopefully it will be useful. Actually, we put into practice this week actually, because I had a supply teacher in and I wanted to start the unit, and I said, here you go, try this out, I've got some videos for you, and it's actually worked really well, so hopefully other people can get some use out of it as well. It's absolutely perfect for blended and distance learning as well. Yeah, here we go, here's what it is. So it's aimed at primary school practitioners, really lower key stage 2, years 3 and 4, but if year 5 and 6 are new to animation, then it's perfect for them as well. As you can see from the image here, I've shown how it's linked to the curriculum for Wales. So from here you can see how it's linked to the 4 purposes and also the what matters statements from expressive arts. As you can see, the sequence of lessons that I've produced actually covers all 3, the exploring, creating and the responding aspects of expressive arts. So throughout the course of the lessons, they'll actually cover all 3. Further in the document as well, that it has links to cross-curricular skills and also how it's linked to the other AOLEs as well. The great thing about this resource is that it can be used across a range of topics, so it can be used across, and it will link across several AOLEs as well, depending on what the focus is for the animation. I've got supporting videos throughout, so as I put into good use over the last couple of days with the supply teacher, they've been able to use the videos. My class were quite funny. Towards the end, they went, I really recognise that voice. I was like, yeah, it's your class teacher. So no previous experience is necessary at all. It really is something that you can pick up and use with your class. Also perfect for at home because, as I said, with the videos there, you can play it to them and they're able to access it as long as they've got the resources at home. So as I said, it's broken down into a few sessions. There's 5 or 6 sessions in there. The resources that's on there, you'll need either an iPad or Chromebook. I've included a picture on there. We use in school OSNAP or stop motion animator. Those are free free software that we use in school, but whatever you have in your school is also good to use. A Lego baseboard isn't essential, but it is best. Obviously some characters and then a backdrop or the wall if you want. In the resource it includes an explanation of how things are to be used. I've also put some key points to remember in there, so just things that I found as I've done animation over the years. It's just little top tips really that I think might be of use to people. Already said, it's accessible to those at home, and it can be used by adults and students alike. So just delving into the resource a little bit further, the first couple of sessions look at setting the scene and exploring, so I thought I'd just include a picture there of what it's supposed to look like. The setting up of the workspace is absolutely vital. For animation, if you want it to be smooth and you want it to be fluid, then you just make sure you stick it all down. Okay, the baseboard has to be stuck down, the cameras, if you're using an iPad, or you might have cameras and tripods at your school, it depends what you have, but just make sure it's stuck down. If it moves, then it's just going to look a mess. So I've tried to stress that in this resource as well. And then it's giving the kids time. Make sure that they have time to explore moving the Lego figures. I was modelling it to them today in class, and it's just having to make the smallest movements. And they went, "Oh, but you've taken loads of pictures already." I went, "Just wait." All right, so it's making sure that they have that time and allow them that time to be able to explore with them, and learn the importance of taking lots of photos as well. So today they just went through an absolute load of them and like, "We've taken 115 photos, look at this." And so they've been able to see the importance of taking their time, and the more photos they have, the better the animation will become. Planning is a really important part of the process as well. So the resource says about that, and making sure that it encourages simplicity to begin with. If it's their first time animating, they're going to want to dive in and have loads of Lego figures. They want to have loads of props and everything. Don't let them. Just recommend a couple of characters, 1 or 2 props, and really see how they can actually animate. It really helps them focus on the basics. It's actually wanting them to focus on moving the figures and creating the effects that you want. I often use a storyboard to map out the ideas as well, especially as they start getting into a bit more. It really does help them focus on what they're trying to animate. When you're ready, as I've already said, we use OSNAP and stop motion animator. Really do stress to them the importance of applying what they've learned, because when they then think, all right, now we can go for it, they then chuck in all the Lego figures again. So really do try and limit them. Again, allow them time, space to create. My kids have got all day tomorrow, so I made them do a couple of sessions today, a couple of literacy sessions today, so we could free up the whole day to tomorrow, because it just meant that they can focus on it. Once they've got everything stuck down, it's then a pain having to move it again for the next day or anything. So if you're allowed to and you have the time to make that time, it is really worth it, and the animation will be much better as a result of it. Yeah, and applying the foundations now, and if this is their first couple of sessions or first times using animation, really do stress to them the importance, because that's laying the foundations for them for the skill development in animating, and then they can just build on that as time goes on. Editing. Now, editing is it depends on what software you're using. The image I've got here is taken from the Chromebook, the stop motion animator, and it's quite basic, which is great for year 3 and 4 children, because otherwise they're just going to want to like plow into everything. So as you can see, they've got the capture is when you're taking the photos. On this one, it's quite nice. You have an undo button, so quite often you can see the movement. So it has like a faded fuzz in the background, and so if you make a mistake, you can undo it. And the lovely feature about using it's on the Chromebook is that you have audio. And I know lots of other resources have it, but on the OSNAP, the free version that we use, we just don't have the funds in our school. On the free version, you can't record audio, so they're sometimes a bit disappointed with that, but obviously it depends what you want as your outcome from your session. And if you have money to pay for the full version, then you're sorted. But on the OSNAP, as I say, there are more editing options. What you can do, you can select all the pictures. So often the children stick a hand in and they take a picture when your hand's still there. So if you're using OSNAP, you can go on, there's like a little waffle like on Google Apps and Teams and things, and you can remove the individual photos. So that's a really handy tool that you don't have in the stop motion animator. Also on stop motion, as you can see at the bottom, you can make it slow or fast. All right, and then it's the last bit. I really let them really take pride in this. They love nothing more than sharing their animations, and I really like to go to town in it. So not at the moment, obviously with COVID, but normally I'd set it up like a movie night, would have popcorn and everything, and they'd play their movies. They love this part of it, and it's so important. Sharing their creations and then reflecting on it, and really encourage them to not just reflect on their own animations, but that of others as well, because then when they come on to their next creation, their next animation, they'll hopefully have that there. So, oh, they'll know that, oh, it moved then, or we moved the camera. We'll have to make sure we keep it better next time. All right, so I hope that's just going to help you and give you that confidence if you haven't used animation before or didn't have the skills to do it, so you'll be able to have a go.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much, Sarah. Are there any questions in the chat, guys?
No questions. Thank you, George.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay, let me just move us forward. Oh. So in terms of next steps, just like I say, a massive thank you to the LNS presenters today, and they are our LNS leads for the Expressive Arts. So if you do have any queries or questions or want to pick their brains about anything else, we'll be more than happy to facilitate that communication if you didn't catch their contact details. I'd also like to thank the ES team behind the scenes that have managed to get this webinar together and are uploading all these resources to the blended learning site as quickly as possible. So they're there to help you and for you to either just look at them and take what you need, or use bits of them, or use the whole thing. And again, if there's anything that people would like to share with us, we'd be more than welcome to take that off your hands, because we are trying to support the whole workforce with this site and provide anything we can to help with a resource that would be of use at the current crisis. Also, in terms of everything that we've talked about today, it's worth considering all of those digital tools that you can use to either do it distance or blended, as well as in your classrooms. And again, we've got lots of stuff coming up around how that works for the PL sessions after half term and what we've got together as a region to support you with that. I'd like to say that the next Blended Learning Resources webinar is tomorrow for humanities, and again we'll have LNS presenting at that to share anything with us and share with us their resources that they have been producing, as well as the AS advisors that we've got in the team that have also produced their own resources. So they'll be talking you through their experience of developing those resources. Any links to any of the recorded webinars are being shared on Twitter and through the Head Teacher playlist. So please make sure you're following all of our EAS handles, because we're constantly trying to share that information with you. Dave and Paula, is there anything in the chat? I've just had something pop up on my screen, so just checking before we close down.
No, just
a thank you message.
Okay, lovely. Thank you ever so much. And once again, a huge thank you to the presenters today. Really interesting, really exciting, particularly for myself, as I'm a mathematician by trade. So it's very nice to see a different side to the curriculum. So huge thank you. And we really hope that we can do anything we can to help teachers in this current situation. Thanks all.